was just telling you about making pink clouds. I made them for this artist. I love the idea of capturing dancer full out in the air. I do have this dream of going to a place like Africa and taking one of my huge gowns and doing a whole
Oh.
Serengeti, like gorgeous. You just see the flowing fabric. I have.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Photographer Profile. My name is Nathan Rupert, and I started this channel to give photographers a worldwide platform to share their work and stories. My guest today is Dena. Hey, Dena, how are you doing?
Good. How are you, Nathan? So great to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on. Just give the viewers an introduction about yourself and your photography for those watching.
Sure. So I'm a full-time portrait photographer. I do creative portrait work with my clients. I'll do a lot of branding and really focusing on like magazine quality photos that people can use both for their branding, for marketing their products, but also just for fun. I do a lot of work with women who want to come into the studio and just have a kind of a luxury photo experience where they can get all dressed up, put gowns on, and just have a party. We do a lot of that. It's a lot of fun.
That sounds like fun. I want to stop in now if it's a party.
It is. I mean, we have wine and drinks and food, and I have all kinds of fun stuff to play with. But and I'm also a landscape photographer, and I do a lot of travel photography. But as far as my daily full-time gig is as a portrait photographer.
Who made the decision between wine or champagne to give them when
Everyone gets to
they come?
choose whatever they want. Once they book, they tell me what they want to eat, what music they want to listen to, what they want to drink, and really my goal is that when people come into my studio, they feel pampered and they feel comfortable because it's not always comfortable to have your photos taken. And so I want to make sure that they know I've got them. I'm going to pose them. I'm going to dress them. They're just there to have fun.
I love that customization of the experience.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, because everyone deserves their own special day. Like everyone deserves to feel like a star every once in a while, right?
True, true. Before we look at your photo showcase, where are you located exactly?
I'm here in San Diego. I have a studio in La Jolla, and that's where I
Okay.
do my photos. I've done a lot of photos outside as well, but primarily we shoot in studio where I have area outside to do inside and outside, depending on what my clients want.
All right. Well, everybody's waiting to look at the picture showcase. This is one of the best sunsets I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how you took this shot, but people are going to love it. Let me share. Okay. Can you see that?
I do see that. That is actually at my very favorite spot to shoot at. So that's at Hospitals Reef in La Jolla. Everyone knows that's my go-to sunset spot. I love it. It's just always, there's just always something interesting, even if the sky doesn't light up. This night obviously was a wonderful night, but the way that the potholes pick up the light, and then a lot of times there's surfers out there. So even if you don't have a great sunset, it's such a great spot because there's always something going on.
When did you take this picture? Do you remember how long ago?
Oh gosh, I think that was early this year. So it was like, when we
Oh,
were
this
getting,
year. Wow.
yeah, we were getting some burn, like more like in the beginning of the year, probably like February.
Did you use a filter, HDR, or was this straight out of the camera for this image?
This is obviously I do some post editing work with it because I shoot raw. So I shoot on a Sony the A7R4, and then I usually will bring. I have like my workhorse lens that's like a 27 to 105, and then I'm not sure if I shot it on that. I also have a wide angle that I'll use, but that's it. I think actually though, I lie because you can see that this was a long exposure. So I definitely had a density filter on there to
Oh, okay.
be able to stop down so I could shoot 10 or 20-second exposure.
I caught you. You can't get past me. Yeah. Have you ever sold any prints of this or submitted this for any awards or anything
Not this
like that?
particular shot. No. I actually, this was the first year I actually entered at the Del Mar Fair, the photo contest. It was the first time I've ever entered anything for landscape. So, but it wasn't this one. There was another sunset or sunrise photo that I that I submitted that was fun. No, I didn't. Yeah, just just me enjoying it and sharing it with the world.
Well, it's beautiful. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing that. Okay, before we get to the next couple of pictures, a couple questions. Do you have any hobbies outside of photography that you enjoy?
I love to travel. My whole goal was to use photography to travel more. And so the last few years, I've been able to go on some really amazing trips. And the work that I do, even though it's my job, is super creative. So creating things for my shoots is really fun as well. Pink clouds or dresses or whatever that I need. That's kind of a hobby of mine. I used to do a lot of I'll do clothing upcycling, also furniture upcycling, but I end up using them a lot in shoots. And then my husband and I got into pickleball, of
Oh
course.
no.
Everyone's got to get into pickleball, right? Those are my big things. My kids are older, but I used to spend a lot of time with them. They're both artists, musicians. That was a lot of fun. We would do all the music stuff.
Are we going to see some pickleball action shots in your repertoire soon?
No, that would be embarrassing. Pickleball's just for fun and social. It's just a social activity. I'm no great athlete, that's for sure, but I love it. I love just being out there with people.
Do you have a trip coming up
So
soon
we're
or?
we're working on booking a trip to Vietnam is probably going to be the next big one. We did Africa earlier this year, and that was a huge bucket list trip for me.
Wow.
Yeah, that was just like I would go back in a heartbeat. I
Awesome.
love photographing animals. That's like amazing.
All right, well, let me set up your next picture here. 1 second. This is going to be a portrait so we can see your whole repertoire of skills. Okay, let me share. There we go.
Yeah, so this is a newer photo shoot. I was just telling you about making pink clouds. I made them for this artist. Her name is Doa, and she has an 8-piece sort of reggae rock band. Think of No Doubt. And so she came to me and she's like, her her band is Doa's Daydream. That was the album that was coming out. So she was like, I need something that feels like a daydream, pink, very girly, and so we created this little shoot for her. It was a blast. It was so much fun. I love working with musicians and people that just want to really push the envelope with their creative shoots.
Wait, so you made that pink background
Yeah,
here?
so I did a child's photo shoot, and I made these clouds by just using like pillow filling and pasting them up. And
Mm.
so what I did was I took those clouds and I painted them pink. Actually, after the shoot in Photoshop, then I like filled it in so it kind of looked like it was kind of floating all around her. It's a little combo of, Photoshop, but also the pink clouds that were created for her shoot.
I kind of want this for my new podcast background. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, why not?
Just forget these bricks. I want to be floating in pink clouds
Why
when I'm
not,
talking
right?
to people. Oh my goodness.
Yes,
All
we
right.
have a lot of fun.
All right. Let's look at the next one.
I saw you were having fun taking pictures of people's Halloween costumes. There were some great
Yeah.
costumes there.
People get wild and crazy in downtown San
Yes,
Diego.
they do.
Okay. Let me share. All right. Very different than the first the first
Yeah,
two here.
it's like a juvenile lion, not a full big guy, that we captured when we were in Africa, in Kenya, I believe. It's so amazing there because you're just driving around in the park. A lot of times, surprisingly, the lions are like right along the road. So that's why I have a 70 to 200 with a 2 times teleconverter. I do that instead of like typically you would want like a 100 to 400 or even a more powerful lens, but the Sony 70 to 200 is such a sharp lens, and then it's so much lighter to just carry that than having to carry the big other lens, and you don't really have the ability to have too much equipment when you're on the vehicle. So yeah, so I caught this
Yeah.
guy and he was actually yawning. So this was like mid
Oh,
yawn.
okay.
They're very sleepy, lazy creatures.
Was the Jeep or vehicle open or it had a cage or something?
Yeah, no,
Or
it's amazing. So it's it's a Jeep that all the windows open and then they pop the top up and you can stand up. And I actually was working a lot with video, trying to get more video when I was in Africa, because I don't do a ton of video with my camera.
Yeah.
Um, you take a sack of rice kind of thing and then put it on the top, and then that way you can rest your camera on there and get some great shots. Some of the lines we were so close that I actually couldn't even use the telephoto. I actually had two bodies. I had a body that was wide angle, and then I had a body that was the telephoto, because sometimes like they would just come right up to the vehicle. It was amazing.
Wow. That sounds like a workout after a couple hours. Two bodies.
That's the first time I've ever traveled with two bodies, but someone had told me, like, you're going to be amazed. Like, the elephants and the giraffes will come right up to you. If you just have this telephoto, you're going to be stuck. You're not going to be able to get, like, or a whole group of elephants came up and they were just playing in a puddle of water until it was gone. And you couldn't capture
Wow.
that. You'd only get, like, an elephant. You wouldn't get the whole group. So it was really important to have both.
Did you see any cheetahs or leopards? Those are my favorite.
We did. We saw both,
Oh,
actually. I'll have
nice.
to share with you. So, one of the reasons why so many of the animals were by the road is we went during a slower season where the grass is really tall. It's easier for them, too, to see predators if they're on the road than if they're in the grass. They can't see them. We were in the Serengeti, and there's some other trucks around, and they see a couple of cheetahs, and the trucks are kind of following the cheetahs, and then all of a sudden the cheetah jumps on the hood of one of the trucks
Oh
next to
my
us,
gosh.
and then the
Wow.
other cheetah jumped on the hood right next to him. So I have a picture of these two cheetahs just sitting on this hood of this truck because they could see better. They were using the trucks like, we want to see as far out as we can because the grass was so tall. And I wanted to be in that truck, but we took pictures for them because they were just freaking out because they were right there. Like, you could pet them. It's amazing.
Wow, that sounds like The Lion King or something like that.
We actually did see the rock that they created, the Lion King rock, around where they hold up the lion. It's a pretty magical place. If you like to be out in nature with animals, definitely a bucket list.
Yeah, that is on my bucket list. I used to have the San Diego Zoo and the Wild Animal Park passes, but
Yeah.
there's nothing like seeing them in the wild versus cages and stuff like that. What keeps you excited to do photography week after week, day after day? What keeps you going
Can't you
in
tell?
this
I'm a
industry?
dork. I love there's nothing I don't love. I mean, when I'm in the studio and I'm like working with a client, it's fun because we're creating something that no one's ever seen before. When I'm, at landscape, it's like, the zen of where we live. Yesterday I was walking with a friend in Torrey Pines, and there's dolphins just body surfing, right there on so we just live in such a beautiful place. And then to be able to travel and see things, I just, I'm like a giddy little school kid all the time when I'm out and about with my camera. I just feel like there's something so magical about capturing it. And I think sometimes when you are a photographer, you feel like you didn't really see it unless you captured it. Like, it didn't count. And just the friendships I've made. And, I think we have such an amazing community in San Diego where we're so supportive of each other.
What is the best piece of photography advice you've been given or that you've learned over your career that you can give to other people?
I think people worry too much about the equipment that they have, and they worry about having the latest lens or the latest camera or super expensive lighting. You really don't need that. There's things that are nice to have, but don't let it stop you. I mean, you can create with your cell phone. You can create with any camera. And I feel like sometimes it can be intimidating. I know I've felt that way before too, where I'm out and about and these people have these amazing cameras and these giant lenses, but then you look and they're all shooting on auto and they have no idea how to use them. So don't let it stop you to just, play and try, and don't let the fact that maybe you don't have the fanciest or the newest or the best keep you from having fun. That's one big thing. And just learning. Just I'm constantly learning. I don't think you ever can know. I mean, there's always new software, new equipment. and just kind of like let yourself just get immersed in playing with what you're doing, I think is really important.
That is good advice. Okay, let me get your next picture ready here. Okay. Can you see
So
that one?
this was in Fiji, and I got up every morning in Fiji. I would get up for sunrise. After sunrise, I would go out with my GoPro in the water and snorkel. I would fly my drone. There was no one around. And I went out on this dock and I'm looking, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, there's a rainbow. Oh my God, there's two rainbows. Double rainbow on the way across the sky. And then there was a guy that was coming and he was sweeping to get the, grounds ready. And like,
Yeah.
yelling at him, like, look at this amazing sunrise. We are the luckiest people on the planet that were capturing this moment. And I were just standing there and there was not a soul around besides the two of us. So, it's like so special when you can capture these moments that are gone in an instant. And you're like, it just makes me feel so lucky to have that experience, to witness something that just is mind boggling to me. It's just so beautiful.
It's crazy that not maybe a couple people saw it besides you, right?
Right?
Like
That's how I mean, that's the thing about sunrise. I'm an early morning person, so I'm always up early, but it's sort of like, I just feel so lucky that I've seen something so special and unique, all the time. Yeah, it was one of those very, very special mornings.
well, I'm definitely cutting in the double rainbow song clip into this picture here on the podcast. I love that song.
Yeah, it was a friend of mine invited me. She's a travel agent, and she was doing 5 islands in 5 nights. I don't know if you've been to Fiji or not, but for anyone that's been there, every time you come to an island, they sing you a welcome song, and every time you leave, they sing a goodbye song. We were literally like, leaving, and they'd be singing us the goodbye song as the hello song was coming up on the next island. Like, just every single day was like that. We went from island to island every day, for 5 days. It was a very, very quick trip, but we saw
Wow.
some really cool things.
That's awesome. All right, let's take a look at another one here. This is a portrait.
So this was just a fun one. This was actually a client who came to me. She was actually my very first muse. So when I got back into photography, I was primarily doing landscape, and then I was doing a little, I don't know if Des, like he was doing these classes, and I joined a class and they said we needed a model. So I grabbed her, Danny, who went to school with my son at the time. I've been photographing her for several years. This particular shoot, she came to me because she just was graduating film school in LA and she needed her headshots and stuff. I said, okay, we're going to finish with something really fun. This is just a gown that I had in my studio. He decided to do this whole doll vibe shoot. So we love to just create. And because she's an actress, she's really, really great at doing different things in front of the camera and making it super believable. So it's fun.
How did you create? Is this Photoshop? How did you create this look or this effect?
So that's my
Here.
backdrop. It's really just a shot of her. I think maybe I added a texture to the backdrop. I can't remember, but it's pretty much how it was when I shot it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have another version where I have her opening the book. I should have sent that one where I have it like sparkles coming out, like it's magical. That one
Oh,
obviously is
okay.
all done in Photoshop, but this one is pretty straightforward. Yeah.
This one looks more creepy doll
You know what?
look.
Actually, if you saw the whole series, I did a bunch where I had her kind of like hanging like from strings, and I added strings
Yeah.
in post. She was like a doll, so that there are some creepier ones from this. It's funny that you picked up on that. Yeah, definitely. That we like to get creepy.
Before we look at more photos, I have another question for
Sure.
you. What do you see as the future of photography 20 to 30 years? What do you think will change or how will be different?
I don't even think we have to wait 20 years for much to be different. It seems like it's changing at the speed of light, actually. I started in photography back when I was many, many, many years ago, rolling my own film and processing it. And now it's like with AI, on one hand, I love AI as far as helping me process my photos faster. But then it's making it harder to know what's real. So that's an interesting one. Um, on the flip side, you have like like the Gen Zers who are all about film now. Like they want the retro photo stuff. So who knows what will still be around? I think it's going to be a hodgepodge. I remember in college many years ago, my friend talked about having cameras in our pockets that were also phones, and that didn't exist, back in the 90s. But now here we are. We have these amazing portable cameras in our cell phones. So I always
I just
wish I
had a
had a
crazy
camera.
thought.
Yeah.
I just had a crazy thought. Normal photography might be considered retro in 20, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
with a
Oh, I
digital
know.
camera.
I always had this dream. I wish that I had an implant in my eyes as a camera. Don't you wish when you're
Mm.
walking around and you could just capture everything with your own eyes? I just think
Until it
that'd be so cool.
malfunctions.
So maybe it'll be more like that. Sometimes I just wish I could capture things by just blinking. It
Until it
probably will.
malfunctions or someone hacks your eye or something like
Yeah,
that.
I read and watch a lot of sci-fi. I could totally see it where we all have these little eye implants and share things telepathically or something. Maybe that's the future.
Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah.
All right, let me get the next photo ready here.
I know I sent you a lot of photos, didn't I? Oh, so this one was one of the photos I entered into the fair this year.
Okay.
That was a puffin that I photographed when I was in Iceland um, in 2022. I actually entered this in the fair and got third place for bird, so I was very excited.
Good job.
Um, yeah, I just loved his personality, the face and the color. They're such colorful little creatures. I mean, I did do quite a bit of post work on this so that I could put him in more shadow so that his, kind of give that penguin, DC vibe, like he's coming out for you kind of thing. So it was a fun shot, but gosh, it was cold. It was so cold that day. It was just raining. They were everywhere. They like just take off, and the way they dive into the water and fish and
Yeah.
stuff, it's really amazing. Yeah.
Are they scared of people, photographers, or will they get kind of close to you?
No, they didn't. We were pretty close to them overall. I don't even think they paid us any attention. They were just having a ball fishing and eating, and yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of pictures of them with like 3 or 4 fish in their beaks and
I
stuff
have
like
one
that.
like that
So,
too. Yeah, they're greedy little suckers. Yeah, but they gotta get fatten up, and we're so lucky that we caught them because they aren't there for very long. Actually, I think we were at the tail end of the season to capture them, and we were in the eastern fjords in Iceland.
nice. Another bucket list for me: Iceland, Africa. I gotta catch up with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I also have a book of every place that I visited. I make coffee table books of all of them. So what I do is I put my itinerary at the beginning because I'll forget everything. I have the itinerary and then I have the places that I went. I have an amazing travel agent that helps us with some of these trips just because they can be tricky depending on the time of year you go.
So you've traveled to all these places. You've taken thousands and thousands of pictures. What do you want to happen to all these photos when you die? Have you ever thought about that when you're no longer here?
On one hand, I have the photos that I've taken when we travel, and all of our big trips, I create a coffee table book. So that way that my family, my kids, they have a way to like remember the memories of our
Yeah.
trips. Um, and on the other hand, all the women that I photographed, I have, I make, obviously they have their images, but I've created a magazines of their work and things. I think if you can get things printed so that people have something tangible, that's really important. I never get tired of getting my work printed. So that's what I don't know what happens to the digital files. Hopefully they get saved, but hopefully, my goal is to print enough so that they have something that they can look through when I'm gone.
Are you gonna have an international photo book sale or something like that someday?
I have
Limited
never really
edition
thought
run.
about that. I don't know. I don't really ever think about my work as something like at least my travel work. I don't think of it as like selling the prints. Yeah. But I'm glad that I have them.
Okay, let's look at the
Sorry
next
about my
one.
barking dog.
I love dogs. No,
Oh,
no
I love
problem.
I love mine too. I actually love photographing animals too. Like, that's so fun for me.
All right. Another portrait here.
I have a friend who I met as a designer that I work with who makes these amazing hats. She takes vintage hats and then she blings them out, and she started doing them for festivals. So, like, music festivals. A few years ago, I worked with her and did a bunch of photo shoots using her hats as inspiration. It was like a 10-hour day.
Wow.
We had 3 models and we had them wearing different outfits and different hats. And I actually like to break them up into different sections and then submit them to different magazines. And so this photo shoot, this was one magazine. This is a cover that we got, actually have the printed version over there. We actually got into 7 magazines, and I think we got 4 or 5 covers just from that one photo shoot. We actually have 2 more and I'm still waiting to come out. And you can get a group of people. I have an amazing hair and makeup artist. Her name is Natalie. Susanna and I, who's the model in this photo, we've worked together for about 4 years now, and I don't even know how many magazines that we've been in and covers, and several of the ones up there from her. It's just fun. It's a great
Did
way to be creative, you know.
did they give you money for the cover shot? I hope.
So no,
Or
no, they didn't. It's more like a great way to, one, build a portfolio. I highly recommend that if anyone wants to get into portraiture editorial work, that you constantly are creating work for yourself that then you can submit, because it just helps with your social proof, that people can see what you're able to do and that it's good enough. You can be in these different magazines. It really helps. My models love it because now they're all internationally published models, hair and makeup artists. Now they have it for their book. And then obviously my client who made all the hats, we had 5 different hats that we photographed. Now she's able to use that with her clients to, give a little more cachet to the pieces that she creates. So to me, it's just a win-win. It's a chance to just really create and do something that no one's ever seen before, which I think is amazing. Like, I feel like I'm creating something that no one else has ever seen or could, create on their own. That's what I love about it. And the
if you make
collaborative
the
part.
cover of I was gonna say, if you make the cover of a magazine, you should automatically be invited to all the fashion weeks, Paris, Miami.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. Come on. Yeah, I would love that. Actually, this is, second or third career for me. I started getting back into photography as far as getting my studio and kind of creating right before I turned 50. So here I am, in my 50s, getting magazine
Yeah.
covers and working with models, and it's just such a thrill to be able to do something you love and you're passionate about, and then actually get that recognition. It really is amazing.
If you could take the portrait of any celebrity, alive or dead, who would you like to do a photo shoot with?
Such a tough one. It would be really cool to photograph someone like David Bowie. Someone who is like really creative in the work that they do. There's just something about photographing someone like that. I also love to photograph dancers. Maybe Mikhail Baryshnikov or something would be fun.
All right, let me get the next photo ready here. Oh, okay, let me share. Look at this cutie pie.
Oh yeah, so that was the one that was just barking. That's
Oh,
my
okay.
sweetie. That's my little Bowie. We have 2 rescue pit bulls. He's a Staffy, so a little Staffordshire. And I love photographing dogs. That's my little guy. I just use like an uber wide lens. I think it's a 12 millimeter wide angle lens for this shot. And
His head looks
he
huge. His head is not normally that big, right? It's just a wide
well,
angle look.
it is pretty big, but yes, it's totally exaggerated. The eyes, it just helps. The cool thing about when you shoot with a really wide angle lens on a pet, have to get really close. You get
Hmm.
really, really close, and it just makes those eyes just look gigantic. And it's so easy to just give a little whistle, and they do the little head tilt, and then you got it. Yeah, it was fun.
What aspect of photography do you feel like you need improvement in the most, or that you want to learn personally?
I would love to like dive into a little deeper with lighting. I do play a lot with lighting in the studio. But I have, like, some of my friends are so technical. They know exactly what to do, what they're doing. I'm more of a fly by the seat of my pants, go with my heart kind of person, because usually I'm photographing a person or a client and I want to be present with them. But I
Yeah.
definitely could use more time just in the studio playing with lighting, and different types of light would be really great. I wish I was better at knowing where to go for certain shots. I don't know if you have interviewed or know Greg Halm, but he's a friend locally,
No.
and he just always knows, like, those people that just know exactly where to stand to capture the moon over the buildings, and they know exactly where the all that stuff, all
Yeah.
that planning stuff. I just like run out the door with my camera when I think it's going to be a good sunset. I don't usually do a lot of planning. I give a lot of kudos to those people that do that, and probably could definitely benefit from learning more around planning my shots.
Yeah, I've interviewed a couple of photographers here that have their secret locations in San Diego. They don't want to give up,
Yeah.
locals only spots for the sunsets, or it's
Yeah.
interesting.
I shoot at Hospitals Reef in La Jolla all the time. It's such a great spot. If anyone's looking for a new spot and they haven't shot there yet, I highly recommend it.
All right, let's look at the next photo. Sure. Looks like another one from your Africa trip. Am I right?
Yeah, so this one was in the Serengeti. I just had this obsession. I like loved capturing the zebras when they were doing this thing where they get all huddled and they lay on top of each other like that. I mean, they do it for one reason. It confuses predators, and then they can rest while they're standing, protect each other from the winds. It's super cute when they do that, although I don't think they're trying to be cute, but to me it's cute. And we went during the time of year it's called predation. Basically, it's the time when a lot of the animals are having their babies. We saw a lot of young zebras and a lot of pregnant zebras. Well, all every kind of baby you could think of, we saw, which was amazing. So that was really fun to see that when we were there.
I love that their heads are in three different directions here. That's great.
Isn't it
Cracks me up.
cute? I was like obsessed. And they're kind of everywhere. So it's not like in the studio. Can you guys just get a little closer? Can you, like, I can't direct them. They don't listen to me, unfortunately. Yeah.
Do you have a dream shot in your mind that you want to take that you haven't taken yet? Anything specific?
I love the idea of capturing like a dancer full out in the air. I've done some of, but I don't think I've nailed it yet. I do have this dream of going to a place like Africa and taking one of my huge gowns and doing a whole
Oh,
Serengeti, like gorgeous. You just see the flowing fabric. That's definitely on my bucket list, as well as doing something similar, but in front of a castle. Those are the
oh,
types
wow.
of
That'd be
shoots I
cool.
would love to do. If anyone wants to hire me to do that, no. I've had someone dangle like a castle, and in Italy, and bring some gowns, and so that those are the kinds of things where I love to just would love to have the opportunity to shoot something like that.
Have you done a travel shoot where they paid you to fly somewhere international to do
Typically,
a photo shoot?
well, no, I haven't had anyone pay me to fly there, but what I do is I shoot, like, when we went to Fiji, the Fiji trip, I offset my costs. Basically, I traded photos for all my expenses.
That's fun.
I do more of like that, where I had another trip where we went to Tahiti, and I did a lot of photos around the island. And then one of the hotels, the resorts we were staying at, purchased that as a package to add on to their gallery. It's more like that. Plus, it's a great tax
Okay.
write off, because as long as you're a photographer and you can prove it, you can write off all your
Yeah.
travel and equipment.
All right, let's look at another photo. I think this is your quote unquote missed photo here.
Yeah, this goes back to my comment about, well, equipment and technology, and, you know, not letting it derail you too much. uh,
All right. So before we go into why you think is a missed photo, maybe just explain what you were doing here in this session.
these were engagement photos for my friends' children, well, daughter and soon to be husband. I had my friend holding a light, and you can see that the light didn't go off. And there was some issue with the trigger. So I think that what happened was, as she was moving it around, it went off of high speed sync, and I was
Okay.
shooting. He was tossing her up. Obviously, I'm shooting at a higher speed. What ended up happening was somehow the trigger got turned off of high speed sync, so the flash was not going off. It's just an example, and it was just too hard to, things are moving fast, the sun's going down. At some point, you just have to let that go and know that you can just fix it in post. Because the
Is
sun
that
goes.
assistant, or are you holding that, or assistant is
No,
holding
so I
that
actually,
for?
because I just did this for fun for her, I actually didn't charge her. So I'm like, I just need you to hold this light. Typically, I would have a much bigger softbox, that kind of thing. But because it was just a quick, sun's going down, let's grab some shots. I do think it's 200 Godox 200 and a little box on there, or light filter on there. She's holding it, but it just wouldn't go off, and it was getting so frustrating. So I just wanted to show that, like, sometimes it doesn't go off, sometimes the lighting doesn't work, and you just fix it later. It's not the end of the world, because the sun, you could see, I mean, we didn't even expect to have a sunset that night. It just turned out we got a nice sunset. Run with it. That was
I've
my
seen a lot of
miss.
photographers be their own one person studio, holding the reflector with one hand, holding the camera with another hand. I think it's
Yeah,
crazy.
I can't do that. I used to do more like senior photos at the beach, that kind of things. And I just enlist the parent to help me with lighting, or I bring one of my kids, pay them some money to hold the light. You've done that for clients too, depending on what I'm doing. Just once again, don't let the fact that you don't have all the lighting or all the bells and whistles or even an
I
assistant stop you from doing what you want to do.
think that's all the photos. One final question for you. Do you have any weird or wild stories from all these travels, all these places you've been? Anything crazy that comes to mind that you've seen out there
Um,
in the world?
we went to Alaska, and I never really thought I would love Alaska, but we didn't do a cruise, we drove. And so one of the things that we did that is like, if you have the chance to do it, do it. It was one of the top things I've done, is a bear flight. You go on a little plane, and we went to, gosh, I don't remember, it was like Stevens Preserve, and they fly you into this area, and there's all these brown bears, which are the same as
Wow.
grizzly bears, which are the same as Kodiak bears. They're just different depending on where they are. So you have this little plane, and they land, and there's plenty of food for the bears, so they don't see you as food. And they have all these rules, and you have to walk in a line, you have to stay with four people, and you can't wear clothes if you've been fishing, like all these rules. You go out there, and at one point we're in like our little group and another little group, and a mom and her two cubs just walk right through our group.
Wow,
And
that's
it was one of the
crazy.
most amazing experiences. And everyone that sees the photos, they're like, were you terrified? And I said, no, I was pissed that someone was closer than me to the bears. I highly recommend, if you get a chance to do that. Alaska is actually a really, really beautiful place. That was a really amazing opportunity to be able to be that close to those types of animals. Yeah.
Wow, it's kind of like a miracle we're even talking to you right now. You've been so many close encounters with wild
Between the lines,
animals.
actually, when we got back from Africa, a week later, there was a group, there was a woman that was killed by a bull elephant not far from where we were. And then a few weeks later, they had all this flooding there in Kenya. The places that we stayed in had been completely flooded. So sometimes you just get lucky.
Final question:
Yeah.
what was the best way for people to contact you? Do you prefer Instagram, your website? How do you prefer people reach out to
So
you?
everything is my website, my Instagram for all my portrait stuff is all Dena Meeder portraits. So DenaMeeder portraits. And for any landscape or travel, it's just Dena Meeder photos. It's all the
Okay.
same everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, website. Easy to
No
find.
preference on what people use?
I'm most active on Instagram. I'll give you a follow back. Ask me any questions. Like, I'm happy to share.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I love looking at all your photography. I'm so jealous of all the places you've gone and stuff you've seen.
I'm happy to give any advice on any because it's like it can be overwhelming to figure out where and so I'm no expert, but I love to share.
All right. Well, have a good night. Thank you so
Thanks so
much.
much, Nathan.
All right. Bye.